Welcome back for another video. It's a first in FPL history. The assistant manager chip, no longer a mystery, and it's now available to us for a double gameweek as well. How many of the top managers are using it though? There's a mix of triple captaincies and assistant manager chips active this week, plus all the usual to discuss, so let's get into it. The best place to start is the manager highlight, as there's a new name top of the Experts League, Lee Jackson. He finished on 72 points last game week to take him up to 3.7k overall. Right now, there's 7 experts in the top 10k, and there's 20 in the top 50k. By the way, I'm going to be opening the doors for more of you to join this series, so keep an eye out on my channel page or on social media. I'll post the minimum requirements to get involved as well. So, loads of transfer activity this week, unsurprisingly. Just 12% are rolling the transfer. That is some position to be in if you're in the same boat, rolling into a double. 34% are making 1 transfer, 24% making 2, 26% making 3, and 4 experts are making 4 transfers. There's actually only 5 -4 hits this week despite all the transfers. Basically, they've been rolling transfers for weeks in preparation for this week. So the big question is, who are they buying and selling? You might be surprised to hear that the most bought players, not even a double gaming player, is Mbumo. 36% are buying him ahead of Spurs home. In fairness, Spurs are in a dreadfully awkward position. Vicario, Udogie, Romero, Van der Ven, Spence, Maddison, Johnson, Werner, Odobert, Solanke and Richarlison all flagged at the moment. And on top of that, they've got the Europa League before they play Brentford away. It's a vicious cycle once these injuries mount up for any team, not just Spurs, because then you've got players getting overplayed, more fatigue, and then they're more prone to injury. And then Brentford come out of that Spurs game with the following fixtures: West Ham, Leicester and then Everton. And don't blank in Game Week 29 either. 10% are also buying Wissa. So the most sold player is Pedro. And if we look at the forwards, it's Ndiaye who's the most popular forward transfer in, 29% buying him. He's even more popular than Gakpo in fact, who 20% are buying. Though Gakpo, to be fair, was already in lots of teams last week for that 16-point haul. He was actually the most transferred in player in last week's video. It's not the best double for Everton, but they are both home games, and it is Leicester home first. And it's the last Merseyside derby ever at Goodison Park, so they're going to be more than up for it. This match will be history. 30% are buying Pickford, 29% Mykolenko, just 2% Van Dijk, and then Alisson, Trent and Doucouré and Konate bought by 1 each. Despite the Liverpool fixture, 16% are buying Kluivert, who in fairness has been on fire recently, even in some tough games. He's got 5 goals and 2 assists in his last 3 matches, and that's against Forest, Newcastle and Chelsea, so they're definitely capable of getting something against Liverpool. Only Mbumo, Palmer and Salah have got more points among midfielders this season, and he's on penalties as well, only 5.7 mil. The only thing is, with Tavernier back, he might be prone to the odd early substitution, unlike Semenyo, who plays 90 basically every game, and of course Dango for 5 mil. He's played 90 the last 3 in a row, and he bagged a hat-trick last match. It's not really clear-cut who's the absolute best, because after all, 6 of Kluivert's 11 goals have been penalties, which is extraordinarily high for this stage of the season, and not typical. 4% are buying Dango. Who's your favourite of the 3? So, in Arteta's pre-match interview before Girona in the Champions League, he said Raya's not fit and hence not in the squad for the match. Now, you'd imagine there's a very good chance it's mind games ahead of a huge clash against City. 16% are selling him though, almost entirely for Pickford. The likes of Fabianski, Flecken, Verbruggen and Sels also being sold for Pickford as well. All a couple of percent each though, so they're not on the list. So let's talk about chips then. Double Gameweek 24, what's the chip landscape looking like? It's the busiest game week that we're going to have all season for triple captaincy. 60% of the experts have got it active, and spoilers, all of those on Salah. 5% have got the assistant manager chip active as well. FPL Creed's one of those. He's on fire this season. He's 5.4k overall, and he's potentially on track for another top finish to his name here. And interestingly, he's still got his triple captain chip as well, so it's a different approach to many managers. He has used his free hit though. Here's his team. It's Pickford, Trent, Mykolenko, Colwill, Salah, Palmer, Bruno, Ødegaard, Eze and Ndiaye, João Pedro, and his bench is Henderson, Raul, Konsa and Munoz. Here's what he had to say. I'm mainly activating it because I had no free hit left. I used it in Game Week 9, which leaves me in a bit of a tough spot regarding chip strategy. I have all the other chips though, except free hit. To navigate both blank Game Week 29, 34 and double Game Week 33 and 36, I'm going to need to wildcard in Game Week 35. I could use the assistant manager in Game Week 36 to 38, but that would mean I have to use the bench boost in either Game Week 33, which could get pretty messy with blank Game Week 34 in mind, or now in 24, which is pretty lackluster. I don't like both options. Triple Captain 24, Bench Boost 33, Wildcard 35, Assistant Manager 36, or Bench Boost 24, Triple Captain 33, Wildcard 35, and Assistant Manager 36. Anyway, I could also use the Assistant Manager in Game Week 31 to 33 to attack that double in 33, but the Game Week 30 to 34 will be a stretch where free transfers will have very big value to me, so it seems like a risky play, since I couldn't really move managers around, which in my opinion is a huge value of the chip. Triple Captain 24, Assistant Manager 31 to 33, Wildcard 35, and Bench Boost 36. So this leaves me with a third option to activate it now. I'm on 5 free transfers at the moment, and it's fairly not difficult to get the funds to stretch for slot and save a transfer and getting a third Liverpool player. And there's about a 15% chance of a Double Gameweek 25 happening, which will make the Assistant Manager chip stonk even more. So the chip strategy here is to use the Assistant Manager 24 to 26, Triple Captain at 33, Wildcard 35, Bench Boost 36. So that's pretty much it. I'll need to keep the free transfers to navigate around blank Game Week 29 and hopefully field a full 11 there. It's a bit long, but this is pretty much all of my thinking. I tried to keep it as concrete as possible, and hopefully there can be something decent extracted from this. I'm not sure if I was meant to read that bit. Anyway, good luck Creed, and best of luck with the chip. Moving on to Game Week 24 Captaincy, and there's one brave soul this week. 99% of the experts are going for Salah Captain, and one is going for Trent Captain. So let's entertain it then. I mean, there have been countless examples in the past where a defender surprises us all in the double, keeping 2 clean sheets in a double game week and outscoring attackers even. I think it was John Stones who got 27 points in a double game week from, I think it was 2 clean sheets and he scored 2 goals. I mean, that's very, very rare, but it shows what can happen. We know that Trent's got an attacker in return in him as well, but it is a brave choice, that's for sure. He is reliable for minutes at least. Like Gakpo came out with a 16-pointer last game week, but he's pretty unreliable for minutes. He'll often come off early. There is a decent chance that he starts in both games in a double in fairness, but then comes off early you'd expect. He did start in the Champions League for Liverpool, but he came off about 51 minutes. Alisson, Trent, Van Dijk, Konate, Salah and Luis Diaz weren't included in the squad. They got a full rest. Moving on to... what's next? Moving on to the Experts template team for Game Week 24, and that's the 15 most owned players. Pickford joins the team in place of Raya, and in defence it's Trent, Gabriel and Mykolenko. So Mykolenko joins the team in place of Munoz. Palmer and Bumo, it's Salah and Rodgers in midfield. Isak, Wood and Gakpo up top. Gakpo joins the team in place of João Pedro, and then on the bench it's Fabianski, Ahmad, Hall and Robinson. So it's triple Liverpool and double Everton. It's a seriously stacked team this week. And Ndiaye reaches 30% ownership among the experts, but it's not enough to break into the template of a Wood, who's still 47% owned. But just looking at the list here, Ndiaye 4% owned overall, 30% among the experts, so that's an opportunity. Mykolenko even more so, 51% owned among the experts, 7% overall. Pickford 39% owned among the experts, 16% owned overall. As far as Liverpool, Alisson 20% owned, Luis Diaz 8%, not on the list, and Konate and Van Dijk just 7%. On to the experts' final thoughts and tips for Game Week 24. Here's what they had to say before the double. FPL Dan Cross says, as Whitney Houston once said, Ndiaye, I'm not singing this, Ndiaye will always love double game weeks. FPL Carefree says, not the best double game week for Liverpool, but with most likely only 3 double game weeks this season, it feels like you should be using a chip. I'm currently on the triple captain Salah, but that could change to assistant manager Moyes. To add some context to that, if you've used your triple captain already, then you don't necessarily have to use a chip now. Which is what we saw earlier in the chip landscape actually. 65% are using a chip this week, 35% aren't. Jason Fleming's also activated the assistant manager chip. Here's why. He said, I've decided to activate the chip at the earliest possible opportunity with plans to use an Arnie's slot for double game week 24 before switching to Arteta in game week 26. There's a few reasons behind this decision. Number 1, my current team value is quite low, and therefore I want to avoid being constrained by having to set 0.5 to 1.5 mil aside when activating my wildcard in game week 30. This will allow me to maximise my best possible bench boost in game week 33 and not have to constantly factor in allocated money to the assistant manager chip. Number 2, whilst navigating game week 30 onwards with the assistant manager bench boost and free hit left is certainly doable, the assistant manager restricting the ability to use other chips for the 3 game weeks makes things tricky for planning in game week 31 to 38 should the unexpected happen. For example, I'd like to use my wildcard in game week 30 and bench boost in the expected double game week 33 and free hit in blank game week 34, which means the only other realistic window to use it would be game week 36 to 38. Where results may be unpredictable and they are historically hard to call, And lastly, number 3, the potential Double Gameweek 25. There's also the outside chance of a Double Gameweek 25 for Fulham and Spurs. If this happens, I could end up with back-to-back doubles whilst using the chip. TomTom KDKD says, I'm screwed by the DCL injury and I cannot be bothered to waste another transfer on an Everton striker who plays in midfield. I'm shocked at how devoid of any creativity United seem to have, so Bruno leaves the side from Mbumo. And lastly, Lee Caulfield has transferred in Ndaya Mikalenko and he simply says, I'm coming down with Double Gameweek fever. Thanks for watching. Has anyone else got Double Gameweek fever, or have we got our heads screwed on still? Hit subscribe so you don't miss out on this series and other FPL content every week to help you win your leagues and hit your rank goals. See you soon for the next one.